The following program includes graphic images and mature subject matter intended for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
He speaks calmly and appears almost timid, but his actions are anything but. His name is Weiwei, an artist and activist from China whose outspoken stance on human rights has earned him a worldwide following. Weiwei's art will be displayed in Canada for the first time this summer, but as Paul Johnson tells us, he won't be there. His passport has been confiscated. He can't leave the country, so we went to him.
Provocative, deviant, intimate.
He is one voice in more than a billion.
Ingenious, pointed.
A man who has paid the price.
An artist of our times.
Courage. This incredible Chinese individual.
China still is a monster.
In a country that's tried to silence him.
Refuse very basic human rights.
Weiwei is unlike other artists, perverting symbols of Chinese culture to demand it be reconsidered.
The future of China will affect the future of the world.
His name and work synonymous with freedom.
The people here still have no rights.
One of the world's most famous contemporary artists in one of the most secretive of countries.
It's not a pretty picture here.
Voted one of 2012's top 100 thinkers, 2011's most powerful artist, and a runner-up for Time's Person of the Year.
He is art. He is politics and art. There's no real distinction within his work.
He's had exhibitions around the world. Will come to Canada's Art Gallery of Ontario this summer.
There's definitely an undertone of activism.
Impressive accolades for a man who can't leave China.
China is your home, but do you feel at home here?
There's no single event or single story can convince me this is my home.
From the very start, Weiwei's life mixed art and politics. His father was a well-known poet during Mao's Cultural Revolution.
He maybe thinks differently from the Communist Party.
Weiwei's childhood was spent in a labor camp. The family sent there for re-education.
There's very limited food. There's no electricity. The whole home almost have nothing. We never think about future. We never even pronounce the word future.
Such oppression left Weiwei dreaming of escape. His chosen escape route, art.
It's very ironic. I studied art only because I want to escape from the political situation. Now, people calling me a political activist.
In the early 1980s, he fled China to study art and design in New York. Then a hotbed of activism and experimentation. Finally free of communism, the young artist was attracted to the underground art scene. Andy Warhol, Allen Ginsberg, and anti-establishment movements that challenged the status quo.
I learned so much about a kind of thinking attitude or lifestyle in this contemporary way.
After 12 years, he returned to China politically charged, quickly becoming part of Beijing's growing art scene. He built a studio, worked as an architect and artist. His deviant side was starting to take shape. In 2005, he found his voice online with blogging.
The internet gave me this opportunity to express my feelings through words.
His challenges against authority reached an audience hungry for more.
And through my writing, I become very popular.
But China wasn't scared of him just yet. In fact, they celebrated him. He was commissioned to help design the Bird's Nest Stadium for the 2008 Beijing Olympics. With the world's eyes on China, the country wanted to impress. But Ai Weiwei had a different message for the international audience. Blatantly attacking China, he called the Olympic Committee incompetent, the opening ceremonies perverted, and a visual pile of crap.
I made a lot of argument to criticize the possibilities of the state to use in the Olympics ceremony as propaganda for the party.
But months before the Olympic torch was even lit, Ai Weiwei had been gearing up for the fight that would define much of his art, when an earthquake in western China devastated the lives of millions.
What the state-controlled media is not representing fully is the level of human suffering.
The death toll was massive. 90,000 dead, thousands of them children. Children crushed when over 7,000 schools were destroyed, shoddily built with what's been called tofu construction. China's lack of accountability was too much for the artist to ignore.
So I initiated and organized a citizen investigation.
In his documentary, So Sorry, Ai Weiwei chronicled his relentless investigation to honor the lives lost.
We found about over 5,000 names of the dead students, and we published it on the internet.
But now Ai Weiwei was going face to face with the Chinese government, and that would have consequences. One night, while visiting the quake-ravaged area, Ai Weiwei was awoken at 3 a.m.
Police, about 40 of them, rushed into the hotel, and they beat me.
His shirt torn and bloody. He snapped this picture while being arrested. Shortly after, he had emergency brain surgery for a hemorrhage suffered in the beating. Nothing would be the same for the artist. Surveillance cameras went up around his home, his blog was shut down, and his every move tracked. Then, on April 3rd, 2011, Ai Weiwei disappeared.
Next, giving the finger to his oppressors. Gangnam Style.
Oppan Gangnam Style.
The following program includes graphic images and mature subject matter intended for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
His name blocked from the Chinese internet. His home under constant surveillance. But the artist behind the Great Firewall wouldn't be silenced. Provocative and unconventional, Ai Weiwei was amassing a global following for his outspoken criticism of his country.
Your motherland.
He was beaten, threatened, and then, in April 2011, Ai Weiwei went missing. The worldwide art community feared the worst.
I assumed that perhaps he was dead.
Art critic Sarah Milroy says Ai Weiwei is unique.
Artists, always change the world, but it is Weiwei's personal bravery and his ability to make his actual physical body something vulnerable and to work in the public sphere and to communicate in the way he does that gives him this extra dimension.
A massive international campaign followed his disappearance. Release demands, protests, sit-ins. Everyone wanted to know, where was Ai Weiwei?
I'd never seen a day when I didn't either see him or see him online.
Alison Clayman considers Ai Weiwei a friend, growing close while making her documentary, Ai Weiwei, Never Sorry. After 81 days, Ai Weiwei was released, visibly shaken.
So sorry.
His passport now confiscated. He can't leave China, but his art and message do.
There's very few artists who are so bold to be able to speak out against one's government.
Mika Yoshitake is the assistant curator of the Hirshhorn Museum and Sculpture Garden in Washington, D.C., where Ai Weiwei's first North American retrospective is on display.
He's also very specific about the situation in China and all the rapid changes that have been taking place.
Coming to Canada this summer, the exhibition is a visual illustration of his life and politics, with no apologies.
So this is a piece called Kippa from 2006. They're fragments from these old temples that were destroyed during the Cultural Revolution.
Or 3,200 individual porcelain crabs, symbolizing censorship in a tightly controlled society.
The term huxie means river crab, but also can mean harmony. It's a term that's used on the internet when the government is trying to crack down on people who are blogging.
Perhaps most powerful, work inspired by the 2008 Sichuan earthquake. A giant snake made out of children's backpacks. A wall listing the names and ages of victims, some as young as 2 years old. Or a pile of rebar taken from the wreckage.
So this is a work called Straight from 2012, made up of 38 tons of steel rebar. This was taken from all of the buildings that had been destroyed in this massive earthquake that killed 90,000 people. The reason why he calls it straight is because these buildings should have been stronger.
China is a society. People are not trained to express themselves in the public.
Expressing himself is what Ai Weiwei does best.
I think I can use my own act to help people to understand this is possible.
It's the internet that's made him most accessible. He posted this picture when smog reached hazardous levels in Beijing last month. And this one, after Elton John slighted Chinese authorities and dedicated his 2012 Beijing concert to Ai Weiwei. In the fall of 2012, Ai Weiwei went mainstream. Mocking his arrest and twirling his handcuffs, the video went viral. The Chinese government quickly pulled it down. But outside China, the video became a call to action. London-based artist Anish Kapoor made his own video dedicated to Ai Weiwei and all persecuted artists. Using art to stand up for human rights, he's been called a dissident, an activist, and an inspiration. But the man himself sees it very differently.
I'm not a brave man. I'm kind of timid, even.
This artist, who says he's not a brave man, has defied the Communist Party of China, and he has no intention of stopping.
I think art always can make a difference if art is about human expression. In that sense, it never can win.
And that is our broadcast for tonight. I'm Carolyn Jarvis. From all of us here at 16 by 9, thanks for watching and have a great weekend.